Hi, this is Captain Mike. Today I'm going to show you all how to use plaster to create a mold to do different objects, in this case a cup and some bowls, and also a just a regular little ceramic piece, a mold to create a little ceramic piece. These plaster molds are used to create ceramics. When the mold is complete and dry, then you will, of course, fill them with slip, take the slip piece out, and fire it. In this case, first example I'm going to show you is this little mold here. I've had it a long time, and you pour slip into it, and you get a nice little slip cup. You fire it. You nice little bisque piece, and then you can glaze it with whatever glaze you want and fire it in a kiln. In this case, this is raku, and I posted a video earlier on how to do both the glazing, the bisquing, glazing, and raku in your microwave kiln. It can also be done in a regular kiln, but this is kind of what the thing is about. It's a little simple mold that I unfortunately don't have the cup here anymore, but this was made just using whatever containers I could find around the house. Now, just to give you an example of what you can do is, for instance, if you wanted to make a votive for a candle, you know, shaped like this. You have to have the object you want shaped. You just get you another container, and of course you'll fill it full of plaster, and you'll push it down there until it is even with the top. If the plaster squishes out, that's fine. That's fine. It doesn't hurt a thing. And then when it dries, you pop the cup out, and you have that. It's the same with this bowl right here. I mean, stainless steel, just another plastic bowl that I have. Put plaster in there, squeeze that down, and see there's some difference here. You want some plaster on the bottom. The container will try to float up, and you will take and put a piece of block or something. The plaster will float it back up, boom. And we'll demonstrate this. We'll actually make a bowl, and then that's it. It'll make a bowl shaped just like this. And of course, this bowl right here came from this mold. I've had it a long time too, and you know, it was bisque, and you make it. I use this little cheap, I don't know, there's 3 or 4 of these in a pack from the dollar store. Again, you use one of these. Same thing, fill it full of plaster, push the cup down in there, and hold it. When the cup rises, hold it in place like that until it's dry, and it comes out very easily, and you have this little mold like this that makes a really great little bowl. Oops, you know, a great little bowl. Okay? So, the other thing I'm going to show you before we get started to make this, and I'll show you some of the tips and tricks we can do, is if you wanted to replicate this. And that's just a little piece that I got somewhere that I kind of like the looks of, and I wanted to do one in ceramic, not cast glass. And you start with another just old piece of just a container you find around the house. You'll place that in there, and you will. I take clay. And we won't go do this whole thing. I'll just show you real briefly. But you'll take a bunch of clay, modeling clay, and it's kind of cool in here, so it's going to be hard to do. And I just make a worm out of it. You know, and it needs to be a lot thinner than this, but this will give you the idea. This will give you the idea. And then you take it and you'll come in here and you'll put this around that, all the way around it. Kind of like that, you see, and it keeps the clay from getting down underneath this. Excuse me, plaster from getting down underneath this. And of course, when you get that done, you just you'll spray the whole thing with some vegetable oil and pour plaster on top of it. And when it hardens, you pop it all out, and if you're really fortunate, that thing will come right on out pretty easy. You may have to dig around the edges. You can see where I dug around the edges there on that. Popped it right out, and you have a plaster mold that, when filled with slip, will create a piece that can be bisqued, and you can drill a hole in it, and it makes a great little trinket. You can do that with butterflies and anything that you have a positive of. Then you can make a negative mold. And so that's what we're going to do today. And I'll mix up some plaster. I showed you how to do that in an earlier video. And I'll come back and I'll pour a couple of these just to kind of show you how it's going to work. And we'll see if everything works out okay for us. Y'all stand by. Okay, we have our plaster mixed up, and I explained in the first video how to do this, in case you don't know. Really simple. And the first thing that we're going to cast is going to be this little simple cup right here. I hope I have enough to do this. I'm not really sure, but we'll just go as far as we can go. So we'll pour this thing to start with 3/4 of the way full. Now, understand, this gets messy, so make sure you've got a good workplace. Take the cup, put the cup there, and in this case, there's an air bubble under it. We'll try to get rid of the air bubbles and all that good stuff, so we'll have a good bottom. And then I take one of these little pieces of rock. You can use anything that's heavy, and try to center it up. Then you'll come back here and very, very, very carefully start filling this rascal up. It's okay if you get some in the cup. It's not a real big deal. Now, the thickness of the walls of your mold has to do with how much water it will absorb. In other words, if you wanted to make 2 or 3 castings a day, and you have thin walls, the plaster is going to absorb the water, and it probably is not going to work as well. So thick walls absorb more water. Of course, I just make more molds. Yeah, I'm going to be a little short here, so we'll cast this one, and the bowl works the same way, and so we won't have to do it over again. Now, the plaster's water soluble as long as it's wet. So if you get it on your clothes or you get it on anything, you can clean it up. When it sets, it's still kind of water soluble. Okay, so we have this, kind of messy looking, and you can see I've slopped stuff everywhere. But we have this sitting, right there. We're gonna move it aside, and you can see where I took this and put the clay around it, and we got to, so that clay won't go, the plaster won't go up under it. We're gonna take it here, and we're gonna pour some in there. We'll just go ahead and pour it off, because there's not going to be enough to do another project. Got that poured in there like that. Bump it a few times. And when that's done, we'll flip it over and I'll show you what you have. We'll see how much trouble it's going to be to get that piece of glass out, because I meant to spray some vegetable oil on it, and like a dummy I forgot. I was going to make this bowl too, but it's not necessary. This bowl is exactly like I done that one. You just simply fill it up about 3/4 of the way full, push that down in it, and as you saw, it'll float. And when it floats up, you take your piece of wood or granite or whatever to weight it down, and it'll do that. Then you move it around and get it centered up, and finish pouring plaster in it. So that's where we are right now. We can't do anything else until this plaster hardens up, and we see where we are. Okay, while that other stuff is setting up, I decided to go ahead and show you another little trick that I find useful. If you ever come upon a silicone, I make a lot of positives out of silicone, so let's just show you how I would make this dragonfly into a ceramic mold. What I use is petroleum jelly, and you'll take and just put a liberal amount of it on the positive. Brush, this stuff's set up, everything in this shop is cold, but you want to put a good bit of petroleum jelly on the edges particularly, and get this thing done right quick. I don't want this video to go too terrible long, which it will. Okay, you get that done that way, and you take it and you smoosh it down inside of your pan, just like that, nice and neat. Center it up, nice and neat, and then I'm going to mix up some more plaster, because I want to do this little job right here. I don't have this bowl and I kind of like it, so I'm going to come back here and in a minute, and I'll pour this. In fact, I won't even show you the pour on this. I'll just pour it, and then we'll undo it all at the same time, because the pour on this is exactly like the pour on the rest of this stuff. I did come back here and I will show you this pour, because I had a couple of things I wanted to tell you. I went ahead, this is stainless steel and it normally comes out okay, but I put a coat of vegetable oil from the Great Values vegetable oil spray container, and that should help that come loose. Also, I meant to tell you this earlier, just as soon as you all get through pouring this plaster and you're through with it, do not pour what's left down your sink drain. Throw it outside, flush it down a commode, whatever you're going to do, don't do it. When you wash the bowl out, the residue that's in the bowl, flush it down the commode or throw it outside, because it will harden in your drains and you'll end up replacing your S-trap and all that stuff. So that's a very big thing. Do not pour it down your drain. Okay, let's get on with this pour right quick, and then we could get on to waiting for everything to harden up. And again, I pour this thing about 3/4 full, because you don't know where you're going to have to start. Put the thing in there, try to get all the air bubbles out of the bottom of it, and take your little weight and weight it down. Cut awful close on it this time, awful close. Bump it around a little bit. Fact is, I think I'm not going to add any to that. I think I'm going to leave that just the way it is. It's almost perfect. We'll slide it on up here. And then this one right here, this is going to be interesting. I may not have put enough Vaseline under it, but I'll show you how this will pull out. And this will make an interesting dragonfly mold. And I can't remember whether I have a ceramic dragonfly mold or not. I've got one, but I don't know whether I have this one. Okay, so we'll take this. Bump it. That looks real good. So what I've got left is this, and I am going to take it and I'm going to wash it out and throw it outside. So now for sure we're going to wait until all this stuff hardens, and then we're going to unmold it and just see how we do it. Okay, we're ready to unmold these things and see what we got. And I went ahead before I turned the camera on and started on this one, because I was absolutely sure it wasn't going to come out, but it did. I've already pulled the clay out from around here, and of course dumped it out of its plastic container, and it worked out really good. Probably the best cast of this item that I've made so far. So I can't wait for this to dry so I can use it. And of course I'll fill it full of slip and you know, slip cast the piece out of that. And I'll do a video on that later. So let's go ahead and start with this one right here. This was the one that had the silicone dragonfly in it. I'll also talk to you in a later video about silicone, and we may have an issue getting it out of this. Fortunately, it's a dollar store item, and I did not grease it. It don't look like it's going to come out. We'll get back to that in just a minute. Let's see how successful we are in this one right here, okay? This one should not be a problem. It should come right on out. Just perfect, perfect. And it's got a few air bubbles down here, but that won't hurt anything because when you slip cast it, the bubbles will be positives and you can just sand them right off. Now, I didn't put anything in this plastic, and let me just get down here on the floor and bump it. It's a lot easier. Success. Always bump it on the floor if you can. So there. That one will cast a slip cast bowl. It'll be approximately like that, only a little thicker. I like my stuff to be 1/8 to 3/16 of an inch thick. And so that was that one. That was a successful unmolding. And this one right here, let's just see. Let's just see. Now I know it's going to come out because the plastic cup is nothing else. I can just tear the cup out like this. Oh, now the camera so you can see. There you go. Again, we have a little air bubble down there. I can put some plaster down there if I want to, but when I cast it, I just sand that right off the bottom. And again, we may have to bump this one on the floor. I don't want to bump it on the table. It makes everything kind of shake. Well, it's not wanting to turn loose either, but this one, it's really not an issue because it's plastic. And all you have to do is not cut yourself, and voila, it will come out. Cheap price to pay for a nice mold that'll make you a nice votive or whatever. And I know why this one didn't come out really good, because I had used this container previously for to put some paint in or something, and it just stuck to the side. It just didn't do. But once it got started, you see it came right on out pretty good. So yeah, you know, 2 disposable items, but you have a mold, and you can make some really nice votives or little cups or whatever you want to make out of that. So it may take a little bit, but we're going to beat on this doggone thing and see if we can't get it to come out, because I just wanted to show you. If I'd have sprayed this inside here with some oil, it would have popped right on loose, but I didn't do it. I'm just kind of screwing it by the numbers today. So let me bump this on the floor some, and I'm either going to tear this tin up or I'll get it out for us. That's all it took. Boom. Here we are. Yeah, I beat that up a little bit, but I can straighten it out. And it didn't hurt the pan any. Now, this is what's so great about the little silicone when you, a cone, however you want to pronounce it in the South. We kind of mess things up sometimes. You just hook it and pull it. Boom. And if that's not pretty little butterfly, a dragonfly, or saying I don't know what. So you can take and clean it up around the edges here, and then you can pour a slip in there, and when it comes out, you've got a dragonfly. And that works really good. So everything was a success. I hope that has been somewhat helpful to you. It's been a little on the stressful side today, worried about whether or not some of this stuff is going to come out, because sometimes it don't. But you just have to try. So I hope that you all have got something out of this, and you can, if you didn't already know how, you can now make some molds to cast your ceramic slip in. And I appreciate it, and thank y'all for watching.